The mystery of clothing. Take a look at the clothes you're wearing right now. Now imagine they suddenly disappeared. Your first thought would probably be, okay, this is bad. But our ancestors had a much bigger question. Why did we start wearing clothes in the first place? No animal wakes up and thinks, what should I wear today? A wolf just walks outside looking exactly the same. A cat takes a bath with its tongue and calls it a day. But humans decided to build an entirely new layer over their bodies. And the weirdest part is, we probably started doing it incredibly long ago. So long ago that almost none of the first clothes survived. Which means we can't just walk into a museum and find the first shirt ever. We have to solve this mystery using much stranger clues. For example, lice. Yes, lice. One of the last creatures you'd expect to help solve human history. There's a type of lice called clothing lice. And without human clothing, these little guys basically have nowhere to live. So if clothing didn't exist, this lifestyle couldn't exist either. Scientists studied their DNA. And suddenly, clothing became a real historical mystery. Because the split between head lice and clothing lice can give us a clue about when humans started wearing clothes. Some estimates place it at least around 83,000 years ago. Other estimates push it back as far as around 170,000 years ago. That means our ancestors may have been wearing clothes before humans built cities, before farming became normal, and definitely before anyone had a fashion store. There were no jeans, no hoodies, probably just animal skins. But why? First, we need to look at our own bodies. Imagine a bear. Thick fur everywhere. Now imagine a wolf. More fur. Now imagine a human. Yeah, we're basically walking around in skin. That's actually great in hot weather. Our bodies can dump heat through sweating. The first clothes. But when it gets cold, your body basically says, sorry, I don't have a winter coat. That's where an animal skin suddenly becomes survival equipment. There's just one tiny problem. Animal skin isn't clothing. You throw it over your shoulders. You walk. It falls off. You put it back on. It falls off again. And after a few minutes, our ancestor probably thought, okay, this design needs work. So the skin had to be held in place. A cord. A strap. Anything that could stop it from sliding away. Better. But there was another problem. If the skin was too big, moving became difficult. If it was too small, you were still freezing. If it was stiff, walking became a torture session. So humans had to learn how to prepare the skin. Clean it. Dry it. Soften it. And shape it for the body. That's when clothing slowly went from I threw an animal skin on myself to actual design. But we still have one huge problem. How do you connect pieces of skin together? Long strips might work. But if you want clothing that actually fits your body, you need something more precise. And that's where one of history's coolest tools enters the story. The needle. Not a shiny metal needle like today. A bone needle. You make a hole. Push a thread through it. Stitch two pieces of skin together. And suddenly, you've got something that actually looks like clothing. That sounds simple. But technologically, it's a huge deal. Clothing changes everything. Now humans could make clothing that moved with the body. It could have sleeves. It could cover the legs separately. It could be tighter. And it could fit the body much better. In other words, humans were building a second skin. But then something much bigger happened. Humans started moving farther away from Africa. They entered colder environments. Nights became colder. Winds became stronger. And the human body was still the same body. That's where clothing became a serious advantage. Humans didn't have to wait for their bodies to evolve thick fur. They could simply build their own protective layer. And that's one of the strangest human abilities. We don't always adapt our bodies to the environment. Sometimes, We adapt the environment to our bodies. Clothing is one of the earliest examples of that trick. But wait! If clothing was only about staying warm, why did humans start decorating it? Why add beads? Why hang animal teeth from it? Why dye it? Because clothing eventually got another job. It could tell people who you were. Maybe you belonged to a certain group. Maybe you were a hunter. Maybe you had a higher status. Or maybe you just wanted everyone to know. Look how cool I am! And that's when clothing became a language. Humans could send a message without saying a word. Clothing could become identity. And that changed everything. But one huge mystery still remains. We don't know exactly when the first human wore clothing. Nobody filmed it. Nobody wrote it down. There wasn't a diary saying, "Today I invented the first pants." And the clothes themselves usually disappeared. The clothing mystery. So scientists have to work like detectives. One clue comes from lice DNA. Another comes from bone tools. Another comes from animal bones. Then they put all the clues together. For example, at Contrabandier's cave in Morocco, researchers found bone tools and evidence of animal skin processing in layers dating roughly 120,000 to 90,000 years ago. These clues suggest humans were highly skilled at working with animal skins. But even that doesn't tell us exactly what the first clothes looked like. Maybe it was a simple animal skin. Maybe something like a cape. Maybe several pieces stitched together. Maybe it looked absolutely terrible. But one thing is clear. Humans learned that they could protect their bodies with technology. Then they learned to design that protection. Then they learned to make it beautiful. And then, we went completely overboard. Jackets, pants, shoes, spacesuits, diving suits, bulletproof clothing, even clothes designed to control body temperature. All of them continue one incredibly old idea. My body isn't built for this environment? No problem. I'll build another layer. And maybe that's the most important thing about clothing. It's not just something we wear. It's one of humanity's oldest wearable technologies. Something we carry with us everywhere. It's not a house. It's not a stone tool. But wherever we go, it makes the environment a little more comfortable for our bodies. And maybe it all started with one human on a freezing night. They threw an animal skin over themselves. They didn't know they were starting one of the most important technologies in human history. They just wanted to stop freezing